For this paper and for this presentation, my keyword I chose to use was media, so media and culture. To start, let's define media. Media refers to all forms of communication, everything from traditional print like books and newspapers to broadcast platforms like TV and film, and now digital media like websites, podcasts, and social platforms. It's not just about entertainment, it's a tool that shapes how we communicate, share stories, and understand the world. Think of movements like hashtag #MeToo or hashtag Black Lives Matter. These started online and gained global traction because media enabled people to connect, organize, and raise awareness. Media as a cultural artifact. Media is more than content, it's a cultural artifact. It holds meaning, reflects our values, and even reinforces power structures. In cultural studies, media helps us understand who holds power, how identities are formed, and which voices are heard or silenced. For example, social media gave rise to modern activism by creating space for people to share their experiences, especially those historically marginalized. It shows how media doesn't just reflect culture, it actively shapes it. Historical roots of media and culture. The cultural impact of media goes way back. The invention of the printing press in the 15th century was a game changer. It made books and newspapers more accessible and allowed national identities to form. Benedict Anderson's concept of imagined communities explains how people began to see themselves as part of a nation through shared media. But access was never equal. Lisa Nakamura reminds us that historically, media excluded people based on race, class, and gender, so even early media was tied to power. Mass media in the 20th century. By the 20th century, mass media exploded. Radio, television, and film became tools for shaping culture and opinion. Althusser called this media's role in ideological state apparatus how media maintains the status quo. Stuart Hall later said audiences don't just accept media messages, they interpret them differently based on their background. Still, media also became a site of resistance. The civil rights and feminist movements used TV and film to challenge dominant narratives. Think about how The Birth of a Nation promoted racism, while a film like Samana was created to empower and tell a different story. Media and power. Media is deeply connected to power. It can either reinforce dominant ideologies or provide space for resistance. Lisa Nakamura and other scholars argue that media is never neutral. It reflects existing hierarchies. For instance, early cinema often reinforced white supremacy, but now platforms like X and Instagram have become spaces for movements like hashtag Black Lives Matter to rise and challenge those narratives. Still, even digital media raises questions about power, who controls the platforms and benefits from user activity. The digital revolution and surveillance. The internet transformed media. Jenkins described this shift as the rise of participatory culture, where anyone can create and share content. But it has also introduced surveillance capitalism, where tech companies profit from tracking our behavior online, as Zupoff points out. Behind the scenes, digital labor, done often by underpaid marginalized workers, keeps platforms running. So while social media empowers new voices, it also deepens exploitation. For example, Facebook uses our data for profit, even as creators use the same platform to challenge norms. Representation and identity in contemporary media. Today, media helps shape how we see ourselves and others. Bell Hooks said media constructs identity, especially in terms of race, gender, and sexuality. Social media platforms like TikTok and YouTube give marginalized groups the chance to create their own narratives. Queer creators, for example, use YouTube to challenge heteronormative ideas about relationships and identity. But even here, there's tension. These platforms empower voices, but they also operate under capitalist systems that can limit or exploit them. So for the conclusion and key takeaways is that media is a powerful cultural force. It shapes identity, reinforces or challenges power, and is central to how we understand the world. It's not just a reflection of culture, it's a site where cultural conflict plays out. By studying media, we uncover the ongoing struggle between dominant forces and marginalized voices. Whether it's hashtag Black Lives Matter, feminist movements, or LGBTQ plus representation, media continues to be where cultural change happens.